Good morning. It's now day 21, and I'm waking up in the Bighorn Inn in Watson Lake, Yukon. So I've got my dirty clothes bag. Got to throw some things in there, and you know what? I broke a nail putting my cover in the bag. So it's time to do a little maintenance. Here's a quick look at the accommodations for last night. Bighorn Inn, it's nice. It is definitely biker friendly, by the way, although I'm not sure what that means, right? I think that just means they'll take your money, right? So, which is fine, that's all we want. But it's a nice little room, king size bed, so and reasonably priced. All right, finally, I think, ready to go. I can't tell you how many times I've got this key in and out of my pocket this morning. Jesus. So anyway, fueled up, got some water, got everything situated, and finally ready to get on the road. It's one of them mornings. And guess what? I have to get the key out one more time because I have the damn phone in my hand and I need to put it into my trunk. The ride into Whitehorse was a pretty good one. The weather stayed dry, although I did have to pass quite a few RVs. I also saw a lot of fellow bikers. And on this day, I would cross a lot of bridges. So made it to Teslin. I'm gonna stop in and grab some brunch before I fill up and hit the road again. So I guess I missed breakfast here, but that's okay. Grabbing myself a club sandwich, a cup of coffee. A little later, I came across some bikers trying to take pictures of a bear on the other side of the road. As I passed, I noticed it was a mother and 2 cubs. Not such a great idea. There's Mama. There's cub number 1. And as I passed, I could see cub number 2 running back into the woods. I know everybody wants their pictures of bears and moose and elk and deer and all kinds of things that they're going to see along this ride to Alaska. But it's not a zoo out here. These are wild animals, and mother bear in particular will protect their young if they feel threatened. So along with bear, I also saw some great scenery, and I stopped to take a few pictures before going back to counting bridges. After a great day of riding, I got into Whitehorse, and as I pulled into the parking lot of my hotel, I thought, ooh, did I make the right choice? So here I am in Whitehorse. I just had dinner at Ricky's, which is right next door to the Quality Inn that I'm staying at. And when I first pulled in, I was like, oh boy. But inside, it's fine. The room is decent, right? And the restaurant, while the main restaurant is getting worked on, they have a smaller portion that's still operating. So I didn't quite know what to make of it. They had some music going on, but it had kind of an Indian flair to it because the restaurant is run by some folks from India. And so I ordered a Greek wrap, and it was really good, I have to say. It was a really interesting take on the Greek wrap. I've never had one like this before, so it was good. But now I'm walking through this little shopping industrial area that the hotel is nearby. There's a Tim Hortons over here. I'm gonna get myself a coffee, a decaf for the evening, and then go hunker down in the room and probably do my video stuff, as I always do every night. All right, that was easy enough. And thank you, Todd, because I'm still spending your gift card that you gave me. Still have enough for probably a couple more coffees. So again, thanks a lot, really appreciate it. So it looks like I had somebody join me in my parking spot last night. Which is, of course, no problem, as long as he didn't block me in. So I guess while I'm out here, I'll just check the tires this morning. All right, and back, that looks good. And the front is good as well. All right, back up for load 2. One thing, I'll tell you, at several of these hotels so far, I've been stuck way the hell on the end. I don't know why. In this hotel, I asked them, oh, send me somewhere that's easy to get in and out of. Yeah, they didn't. All that's left is to gear up and head out. All right, geared up, here we go. When I left Whitehorse, the temperatures were a little cool, but the skies were blue and the sun was shining. But as I approached Haines Junction, the clouds rolled in and the temperatures started to drop. I actually pulled over and got out my heated gear. However, along with those colder temperatures came some spectacular scenery. The ride between Haines Junction and Destruction Bay is my favorite of all the 1,390 miles that make up the Alcan Highway. After reaching Haines Junction, I filled up with gas and then made my way over to the Cozy Corner, where I got one of those late breakfasts that was becoming part of my routine. So got some coffee, got a little eggs and sausage in me. I'm gonna head on to Toke now. The lady in there was just telling me that the road's gonna get a little bumpy up here, so but oh well. We'll deal with it. As I mentioned earlier, I had switched over to my heated gear when I stopped. And of course, just as I got going, I realized I left my key fob in one of the locks. One of the beautiful things to see along this section of the Alcan Highway is the beautiful pink wildflower known as fireweed. As you approach the small community of Destruction Bay, you ride along the shores of Lake Kluane. It's a beautiful lake, and I just love this area because the colors are just so diverse. You get the blue of the lake and the blue of the sky. You get the sand that goes along the shore, and then of course the fireweed and the color in the mountains. It's really a spectacular place to ride. Right, somewhere past Destruction Bay, headed towards the U.S. border in another, I don't know, hour and a half, something like that. So, good day so far. Lots of beautiful scenery for sure. I wish these clouds would go away, but other than that, it's a great day. Now, of course, I had been warned about the bumpy road. But when I made that video, I had no idea about the bumps and the potholes and the construction that lie ahead of me. But it wasn't too long before I found out. And of course, you might as well throw in a little rain for good measure. It wasn't until I left Canada and crossed back into the United States that things started to get really bad. At first, even though the trucks were throwing up a lot of dust, I could easily move around them. It was when I got stuck at a construction project behind a line of slow-moving RVs, semi-trucks, and other recreational vehicles. That's when life became a living hell. Now, of course, I was exaggerating there for effect. But the truth is that I was stuck in this line of vehicles for about 60 miles over the course of 2 hours or so. I had to just keep passing them whenever I could to try to get through all of these vehicles. Now, even though I could move more quickly on the motorcycle, I completely understand why these RVs and semis were going 20 miles an hour under the speed limit. This road was pretty bumpy, and it was tossing them around pretty good. But even though I understood, I still wanted to get around them as fast as I could, and I was very relieved to make that last pass of the day. As soon as I pulled into Tok, I headed straight to Fast Eddie's to get something to eat. And no sooner had I gotten off the bike than I heard somebody yelling, "Hey, Craig Ripley, I know you!" It turned out to be a viewer, a father and son, headed to Dead Horse. Rather than stay back at Fast Eddie's, I had booked a bed and breakfast, the Hideaway Bed and Breakfast, just a mile or so right down the street. Good morning. So breakfast is at 8 today. So I just went downstairs and nobody else is down there yet. It's, I don't know, 7:15 or something. So I guess we just hang out in our rooms until 8 o'clock. So that's what I'll do. I'm just going to sit here and relax for a while, organize things. Well, at 8 o'clock, everybody was up, and I had a great breakfast and was able to chat with some of the fellow travelers who were staying at the Hideaway Inn. But it's also the time when I got some bad news. At least I think it was here. It may have been before while I was talking to my viewer, but I learned that Denali National Park was closed because there was a fire. Now, of course, while staying at the bed and breakfast, I did verify the information that I was given about the fires at Denali National Park. And indeed, it was true, the park was closed. So I had a lot of thinking to do. What was I going to do? Because one of the major reasons I was riding up to Alaska this time is because I wanted to go in and see Denali National Park. We didn't get to do it on our trip in 2017, and I wanted to do something different, something that everybody who rides up here to Alaska doesn't do. And for me, one of those things was going into Denali National Park. If you haven't been up to Alaska, well, let me tell you that the ride between Tok and Fairbanks is not all that exciting. In fact, I think the most excitement that I did have all day was following the pace car through this construction zone. The one thing that all of this straight and boring road gave me was time to think. And I decided that I would play things by ear. I would get into Fairbanks, get settled, and then call the proprietors of the inn where I was staying down in Cantwell and see what the conditions were. Then I would make my decision on where I would go from there. So stopped here in Delta Junction on my way to Fairbanks today. Again, cloudy, overcast day. Looking for a cup of coffee. There's a little drive-up place called Cafe Amore. Just next parking lot over. So I walked up there, and now I'm having a sit down in front of this little grocery store. Really nice grocery store, actually, in there. They got a nice restroom in there. So that's kind of all that there is here in town. There's not a whole lot. I guess there is one other coffee place down the road a little bit, but Cafe Amore, again, drive-up shack. It's good coffee. Finishing off my riding day, I pulled into my hotel, put things away, and decided it was time to do some laundry. The perils of traveling. So I decided to do a load of clothes because I got here pretty early, and the place where I want to go to dinner isn't open until 5. So I threw a load in the laundry in the washer, and then I threw them in the dryer. The dryer takes about 45 minutes. So I come back down, and the dryer door is open. My clothes are still pretty wet, and there's 12 minutes left on the machine. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. Now, the clothes were pretty wet coming out of the dryer, so, you know, it could be that they just need some more time. But why is 12 minutes left on it? Did somebody come by and just pop them open to be a pain in the ass? Did somebody take my clothes out and use my time and then throw them back in? I don't know. But I am sitting down here now. So I'm now in Fairbanks, Alaska. I checked into my hotel earlier today, got cleaned up, did a load of clothes, and now I am hiking over to a place called the Alaska Salmon Bake. So I've got to go through Pioneer Park here, and on the other side is the Salmon Bake. Now, Steve and Peter and I, we ate here last time that we were in Fairbanks, so I figure this is doing it again for old time's sake. Plus, the food was pretty good, as I recall. So tomorrow, then, I head to Cantwell, which is south of Denali National Park. The park, unfortunately, still looks closed and doesn't look like it's going to open anytime soon. So again, we'll see how it goes. But the proprietor there of the lodge where I'm staying said that they're not having any problem with smoke there. I guess they're on the other side of a little mountain range that's keeping the smoke north and east of them, and that they have not had any electrical outages or anything like that, like so many of the other hotels have in that area. And I guess they've been moving them all off to other sites, you know, like down in Anchorage. They say trying to find a hotel in Anchorage is pretty much impossible right now. So that's the story. We'll go down there, and at the very least, then I will have a great day off in a beautiful location. Filled up my belly with the salmon, and I came over here walking around Pioneer Park a little bit, and I ran across a taco place. A man and his son, I guess they do all the cooking and things, and the wife is helping out there, and got a little dessert. This is a cheesecake mango cup, right, for dessert, and it's really good. So I'm going to try their tacos when I'm back here in, well, about 3 days. Well, that was fun. Just a nice little walk over, dinner, come back. Now, the one thing I would say to those folks with the taco place, haven't tried their tacos yet, but that little cup there was $6. I mean, it was very good, but $6 is probably a little expensive for that. Maybe $3 for that. But anyway, I don't begrudge people trying to make a living. Next time I will try their tacos. They're 3 for $15. So again, that's not too bad, but we'll see how they are. The Best Western Plus Pioneer Park is pretty nice inside, but I tell you, they sure could use some landscaping. As I mentioned earlier, I had decided just to head down to Cantwell, even though I wasn't going to be able to get into Denali National Park. The weather for the next couple of days was forecast to be kind of cold and rainy anyway, so it didn't matter whether I sit in a hotel in Fairbanks or sit in a nice, cozy inn down in Cantwell. And honestly, the inn in Cantwell was a little bit cheaper. Plus, at least I got to spend some time riding the motorcycle. On the way down, I did encounter some smoke that made me question my decision to head down. I don't know whether the smoke came from Denali or another fire, but it was quite noticeable as I rode through. So I'm stopping in Healy here. I'm gonna go in and see if I can find some groceries for the next few days. All right, so I found a bunch of good stuff in there for the next couple of days, but now I get to see if I can fit it in my bag somewhere. Well, looky there. I'm good. Earlier in the day, I had been warned about the wind going through this little gorge area. But when I went through, again, it was really no problem. As I passed through the Denali Village area, I was really surprised to see how much activity there was still going on. Even though the park was closed, all of the local businesses were open because they have to do the best they can during the short season. Yeah, I didn't want to mess up this guy's picture, so I stopped. So I made it. Here I am at the Backwoods Lodge in Cantwell, Alaska. And it's a nice, cozy little place. You know, a little rustic, but it's very comfortable. I think this is going to work out just great. Now, as I said before, I was supposed to go into Denali. I'm not going to do that, obviously. It's closed. So I'm just going to hunker down here for the rest of the day and probably tomorrow. Not plan on doing much of anything. Just taking a day off and relaxing. The inn that I was staying at, the Backwoods Lodge, well, it is right on the Denali Highway, so I did think about going out and doing that. But as I mentioned earlier, the forecast was for it to be cold and rainy. So I ended up the next day just hunkering down in my room. Well, happy July 4th, everybody. Of course, it is today, not when these videos are going to come out. So I am just hanging out in Cantwell, Alaska today, taking a well-deserved day off the bike. I'm out for a little walk. I'm walking just down the road a little ways to a little restaurant. Hopefully they're open today. Says they are, but again, we'll see when I get there. It's nice to get out of the room anyway, even though it's cold and wet and dreary today. You can see that sky back there behind me. So it's a good day to stay off the bike. And I'm doing a little riding back in my room. I've done that. Maybe for a future video, we'll see. And so just enjoying the day. We'll go up here, grab some food, hopefully, and then go back and I said continue relaxing until tomorrow when I start my trek home. Now, what I was writing about in there was free will. Do you guys ever think about it? Do we really have free will, the ability to choose for ourselves? Or is it an illusion that we have created for ourselves as a survival mechanism? Well, there are some people who believe that, the deterministic view that pretty much everything is predetermined by genetics, your upbringing, societal pressures and so forth, that none of us can truly have free will because we always have to deal with all of these outside influences, and that our decisions are made based upon these influences. Well, for me, it's like, well, duh, we live in a world of other human beings. We live in a world of, all kinds of societal pressures and issues and things. But we do have the ability to focus on the good things, to focus on the bad things, and to make choices and live our lives accordingly. So for me, that is what free will is. And certainly we do have the ability, right, to make those choices. The restaurant I walked to was called Jam Spot. And they have great food there. I really enjoyed it. But I also was amazed that a guy from Jamaica would choose to move up to Cantwell, Alaska, of all places, and open up a restaurant. But I'm sure glad he did. The guy I was talking to at lunch was another fellow motorcyclist who was up here riding around Alaska. And he actually was going to eat and then get back on the road, riding almost all the way back to Tok in the cold and miserable conditions. All right. busy all of a sudden here. Wow. So anyway, food was very good there. Great salad. Some leftover fries for later on. It is starting to rain and drizzle. It's pretty miserable here. But we'll hopefully get back to the inn before I get too drenched. Next up in part 6, I jump in a time machine, eat some tacos, try something different, battle a windstorm, and take a relaxing soak.